always been in church, but over this last 14 years, I've really formed a deep relationship with Christ. And I started talking to him about inherited faith like we talked about last week. I said, you were born into the church? He said, yes. And he said, actually, I gave my testimony one time, and this guy before me, he gave us long testimony about how he had been delivered from drugs and alcohol and all these other things. And he said, man, mine's worse than that. He said, oh, Lord, I can't wait to hear it. He said, I never drank. I never smoked. I never did anything wrong. He said, I just went to church. And he said, well, what's wrong with that? He said, well, I went to church and thought I was saved and thought I was just like I thought I was a good Christian. But all I was just a good church attender. And he said, it wasn't until 14 years ago that I realized I was lost and dying in sin right there on the church pew. And he said, that's where I realized I needed Jesus. And so I really want you to know that today there are some, though, that will come to church and they don't know Jesus. We'll talk about that this week. Welcome to church. I know it's an exciting thought to have, that you may be here and you don't even know Jesus. But I said you'll be different last week. I talked about we should be different as parents. We should be different as spouses. We should be different than the way that we work. We should be different. Our lives should be changed lives. So I want to ask you to do something today. I haven't asked you to do this in a long time. Let's stand for the reading of the Word. How about that? Let's get a little exercise. Somebody told me I got to stand a lot. I need to get some exercise. So let's stand. If you got your Bible, read from 1 Peter chapter 1. I'm going to read just 3 or 4 verses for you, 13 through 17. It says this, therefore, with minds that are alert and fully sober, set your hope on the grace to be brought to you when Jesus Christ is revealed at his coming. As obedient children, happy Mother's Day. Do not conform to the evil desires you had when you lived in ignorance. But just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all that you do. For it is written, be holy because I am holy. Since you call on a Father who judges each person's works impartially, live out your time as foreigners here in reverent fear. You may be seated. I'm going to ask you to stand up at least one more time today, I believe. Maybe twice. You shall live out this as foreigners. Another version actually says, as temporary residents. In other words, this world is not your home. You're from a different place. You're moving into a different place. You're just passing through. You don't have the same calling as those of this world. Your calling is higher, and your calling is to live a changed life. And the problem with that for so many people today, in the church and out of the church, just the same, the biggest obstacle to truly following Christ is a huge and passionate desire to fit into this world.